Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the pilot of Blue Sunday here on In the Blue Corner. With me, Joseph Lutzer, and in Melbourne we have Vince Lochisano. How are you, Vince?
G'day, Joe. What's all of that music you got going in the background there?
I'm glad you asked that, Vince. That is called the entry of the gladiators. Hang on, I'll just stop it. For those of you that don't know, I'm going to give you a quick rundown on it.
Isn't that the start of the circus?
Well, funny you should say that. It's, as I said, it's called The Entry of the Clowns, and it's written by a Czech person called Julius Fučík, and he wrote it it was the march for his for his military assignment. And in the 1900s, Barnum and Bailey used it to signal the arrival of the clowns into the main arena. And
have they got a gig at the front of Icon Park at the moment, have they?
Well, thanks for saying. That's why I played it, because the clowns have arrived in their droves at Princes Park, Optus Oval, whatever you want to call it. Tonight we're going to look. First of all, let me welcome everybody to the show. As I said, this is a pilot, so it's going to be every Sunday. We hope to have Rocco from the Jumper Punch On and Rash, who many of you might know from the Sandpit. They may be busy, so we may later on down the track ask for people who want to join us. We may give them the link. We were hoping that they'd be on. So we're going to be on every Sunday, Vince, and we're going to have a topic. And the topic this week I thought would be, let's assess the performance of the new incoming president and decisions that have been made to date. And people are saying, so why have you chosen the clown music? And I've said, well, as far as I can see, it's a media circus at Princes Park. It's comings, there's goings. 1 minute Ross Lyon is coach, then there's not the coach, then he's pulled out, then we've got Alistair Clarkson, then there's Brian Cook. Who knows what the hell is happening at Princes Park? Just let me tell you this. Since I think it's round 10 or round 12, I can't remember, when Carlton lost to the West Coast, to a second West Coast Eagles in Sydney, and the then president Mark Lagudice announced that he was going to step aside at the end of the year, which didn't happen because basically his predecessor, I've got to stop calling him Leo, Luke Sayers.
Predecessor or successor?
Well, I don't know, whatever you want to call him.
The guy that's going to take over from him, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. What did I say? Predecessor.
Predecessor, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, he's his successor, good succession planning. Luke Sayers came in and he announced a review, and it really wasn't even his part to announce the review. It was Mark Lagudice's job, really. But since that day, this is what's happened, Vince. Mark Lagudice obviously stepped aside. John Barker saw the writing on the wall, and as soon as he heard there's a review, he quit. He jumped ship. So the Rats were deserting then. Since that day, David Teague sacked. Kane Little sacked. Interesting to note, both people were told that you have the full support of the board.
That's called the kiss of death.
Also, Brett Stanton and I think his name is Dale Amos. They've either been sacked or quit. So at the moment, we have no head coach, and we have no forward coach, and we have no defensive coach.
Cameron Bruce has survived. He's about the only one I can think of.
And Luke Power.
And Luke Power, yes.
Yeah.
Who was a development coach and came in as a midfield coach once John Barker took off. Yep.
Yeah, but as we both know, the new coach that'll come in, whoever that may be, will obviously select his own coaching panel, and like will Andrew Russell survive? Will Brad Lloyd survive? Is it Nick Agresta? He's the list manager.
Mick Agresta.
Sorry.
He's in list management.
Yeah. Okay. So
Nick
survive?
Nick Austin's in charge of that. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a multitude of people there that I don't know whether they've done a good job, but will they survive, Vince? So what's your take on all this?
Well, the latest statement from the club said that that would be it. There would be no more personnel changes as a result of the review, which means that it would seem, based on that Brad Lloyd has survived. Why he has survived, and yet the CEO hasn't, and the senior coach hasn't, and an array of assistant coaches haven't, I'm not sure. Only Luke Sayers can answer that. But just to go back in time on what you were saying, what you'll find is that the president, who has now vacated, Mark Lejudice, actually announced in April that he would not stand again and that he was departing at the end of this football season. In June, when we lost to West Coast, I think it was in round 12, we went down to 4 wins and 8 losses after losing that match to a very injury-depleted West Coast team. That's when president-in-waiting, but as you quite rightly say, not yet in the chair, Luke Sayers announced that he wanted an external review. Now, I'm not sure who's running the club at that stage. You had a president that was still there, but another one that's coming in that's all of a sudden calling the shots. So I'm not sure how that works. I've made it pretty clear that I think that was extremely poor timing and grossly unfair on the senior coach and the playing list, and in fact everyone in the football department at the time. I think that was very poor timing and showed significant naivety when it comes to how you should do things at a football club rather than an accounting firm. That was made very, very public, and the fact that it was an external review rather than an internal review just, to me, proved that the president-in-waiting had no confidence at all in his CEO, no confidence in his general manager of football to get down to the bottom of our problems. And that's why he called an external review of 3 people outside the club to look inside the club and tell us, or tell him, what was wrong and what the recommendations were to fix it. The club has refused to make most of this review public, or at least known to the members. All they have done is outlined in very, very broad brush terms why they felt there was a need to move on the senior coach. Not much else was elaborated on. And for whatever that review cost, we're really none the wiser, other than some very broadly described deficiencies in David Teague's coaching and game plan and all that sort of thing. And that's why they decided to move on him. We've seen him being very unfairly treated, regardless of whether you agree or disagree as to whether he should be in the job or not. I believe it was a very poor example of how you should treat your own people. He was a former Carlton player and best and fairest, and he played 50 games for the club, and then he coached 50 games for the club. And in those 100 games, it's a significant contribution. And to see him being treated towards the end of the way he was really made me shake my head, and it showed the rest of the football world how Carlton treats its people. And that was appalling, if you ask me.
Yeah, it was.
Since then, what we've seen is more casualties. As you said, Brett Stanton, then David Teague was sacked later on in that week, and Dale Amos as well. And now, of course, last week we've seen the CEO, Kane Little, asked to have his position clarified. Basically, he said, back me or sack me. And in the end, they sacked him. Yeah. Yet another example of another scapegoat. Some people are not too unhappy about him going. But again, whether you like the guy or not, or whether you think he should have been CEO or not, that's the way they do things at Carlton. And they're obviously on the brink of making some sort of announcement. I can't understand why you would sack your CEO unless you've got someone pretty much in the wings. So, the rumours are that Brian Cook's going to be the man. And if he is the man, well, let's welcome him to the club. He's had a very good, successful stint at Geelong for, I think, over 20 years now, 21 or 22 years.
Something like that,
Before that, he was at West Coast through the 90s during their very successful era in the 90s, where they won 2 premierships and made most final series during that decade. So, Brian Cook has certainly got a history of success. I think he's 67 or 68. He'd probably be approaching a retirement age, but nevertheless, if he decides to accept the job, obviously he feels he's still got some years to contribute yet. But we still don't know what's happening with the senior coach. We saw an announcement by Alistair Clarkson's manager that he wasn't going to coach next year, wants a year off, regardless of the overtures of the Carlton board. We've seen Ross Lyon essentially encouraged to step forward and take the position, and then all of a sudden told that he's going to have to go through a process. And as a result of that, once he knew who was going to be on the selection panel, he decided, no, I don't think I want to be set up for failure like that. So he decided to pull out. Now we've got a range of other experienced coaches all in the firing line. You've got Dom Pike, Nathan Buckley, Brad Scott, Chris Scott. They're the types of names that are being touted as potential senior coaches. Even Michael Voss's name comes up as well. So really those 5 are pretty much the ones that remain. But if they do happen to secure Brian Cook, I dare say they would more than likely have another shot at Clarkson before they're absolutely sure that he's going to say no.
Can I ask you, Vince? Like everyone talks about the process, the coaching, you've got to go through the process. Is it not really like a job interview? I mean, I think, it is. But do you what am I trying to say?
It can be a series of interviews, Joe. But what you've got to understand is that there are some coaches that are in the bracket of you go out and get them because they're the man that you want. Say Alistair Clarkson. No doubt he's not going to be required to go through any interviewing process. They're just going to say, right, Alistair, we want you. Do you want to come or don't you? And if he says yes, he's just basically got the job. Forget about the process. Forget about anything else.
Okay.
I think Ross Lyon thought he might have been in that bracket because he said, I've been coaching for 13 years. What do I need to go through interviews for? Now, some people think, rightly or wrongly, that no, he should be required to go through an interview process.
And do you? I think he should.
Okay. It's a matter. Well, he's been through some issues, so maybe. But you don't go and approach someone and say, "Listen, we want you," and then tell them, "But you're going to have to go through the process."
Okay.
It's one or the other.
But we don't know the discussion had. I mean,
we don't. But if it wasn't made specifically clear at the start, we want you, but you're going to need to go through a process anyway if we want the job. Then you can say, yes, we're being abundantly clear. It doesn't sound to me like that clarity was in existence at the start because Ross Lyon himself, even when he was on Footy Classified, said, look, I'm not really sure. I need some clarity. So I'll be contacting Luke Sayers and getting that clarity. So even he wasn't sure.
Yeah, but I think that's a bit egotistical. I mean, first, we don't know what Luke Sayers said to Ross Lyon.
That's true.
If he said to him, hey, mate, I reckon you'd be a good candidate for the job. I think you should put your hat in the ring. Yep. Then that's different. But if he said to him, hey, mate, if you apply, you've got it. And then they say, oh, well, you got to go through a process. Well, then that's when I'd say, well, hello, that's not what I signed up for. I personally,
all I'm saying is that it sounds like it was a bit clouded because even Ross Lyon was saying, look, I'm not really sure what the process is about and I just need some clarity. And so therefore it sounded to me like things were not quite being expressed as clearly as they could have been.
Yeah. So Vince, I know you're not in the knowledge and we don't like to talk rumours and stuff here, like I heard this from this and this. Your take, do you honestly think Alistair Clarkson will coach Carlton next year or would come? Irrespective of who's the CEO.
Spoke to someone that I can't name last week who knows Alistair Clarkson very well, and he said to me, "No, he won't be coaching next year."
Well, that's what I heard from. That's what I heard from.
But that's
else.
someone who feels that he knows him and feels that he knows that once he says that, that's it. Then again, you hear some people say he's just as inclined to change his mind. And look, sometimes when there's big money being offered as well, which no doubt the Carlton board will be throwing at him because that's all they know how to do, throw money at problems and think that that's going to solve everything. He may be tempted. He may be more tempted that if he knows, for example, that Brian Cook is going to be the CEO, because maybe he respects Brian Cook more than he respects Kane Little. I don't know. You'd have to ask Alistair Clarkson that. But look, anything's possible. You can't rule it out, but I still have my doubts about Alistair Clarkson coming.
Do you know what they call that when they throw money at a problem to try and fix it? It's called the more fool theory. It's for those of you who are economically minded, look it up on Google. It's when you're trying to throw money at a problem and using the same processes and thinking that you're going to get a different result, which is what we've been
insanity.
Yeah, well, we've been doing that for the last 20 years. So the rumours abound. 1 minute I'm hearing Brad Scott, then I'm hearing Chris Scott, then I hear it's Don Pipe, then I hear it's Alistair Clarkson. Then I think we should go with the fact of who hasn't been linked to the job, right? So given out there, let's exclude Alistair Clarkson, right? Because according to his manager, he's not coming, right? Yeah. Who do you think should?
Mind you, Alistair Clarkson's never said these words. It's always been
exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying. So, but let's exclude him. I think that's why these people have managers, right? So let's exclude. Let's assume Alistair Clarkson comes out and says, "I am not coaching anybody."
All I'm saying, Joe. All I'm saying is this: until the day comes that Carlton announces someone else as the senior coach, Alistair Clarkson is still in play. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. Because you can't rule it out. I'm not saying he's going to come. I'm not saying he's going to say yes. But with every day that passes, we're getting closer to an announcement. But until that day comes that the club makes an announcement, Alistair Clarkson, if he's still the number one target or the number one priority, he will still be asked the question until the very last minute. Are you sure, Alistair? Because this is your last chance. And if you say no this time, we're going to announce someone else.
I'm sure that's the case.
That discussion is going to happen one day in the not too distant future.
I'm sure that's the case. I'm sure. Let's assume. Let's take Alistair Clarkson out of the equation, right?
Righto.
And this is all a hypothetical, right? And they've done their process, and they say we want Don Pike. Right? Yep. Not that I'm saying that. I'm dead set certain that they will pick up the phone and they'll go, Alistair, this is your last chance. Yay or nay? Right? And then he'll either say yay or nay, and then they'll go, righto, this is it. But, good day, Dan. Pommy's just put something out. Who knows what this process is? I mean, I'm sure they want to know they'll do their own psych testing, and they'll do, what's your game plan? What do you think of the list? But that's the interesting point now, Vince, because we're coming up to draft period, right? When's draft? Is it October, November?
October. It's not too far. Well, the trade period's pretty soon after the grand final.
Yeah. Well, we've got to start delisting players.
Then the drafting period's towards the end of October.
Well, we've got to start delisting players. So I don't know who's going to make that decision. I'm sure Nick Agresta, Mick or Nick?
You got Nick Austin, as in Nicholas Austin.
Yeah.
He is the son of former Carlton premiership player Rod Curly Austin, for those of you who remember
position,
him, number 21. So Nick Austin is the list manager, the list manager. Okay, he is in charge of list management.
Okay.
Mick Agresta is one of the people on his team.
Okay. And do they both answer through to Brad Lloyd?
Of course.
Okay.
Because Brad Lloyd is the general manager of all football operations.
Okay. So who do you think will be making the decision to who do we cut and who do we get? I mean,
well, again, that would normally be done by the list management department in consultation with the coaches, of which there's just about nobody left. So,
Luke Power,
you would think that a decision is imminent with both the CEO, who's meant to be running the entire organisation on a day-to-day basis. There is no one more important at the club in terms of day-to-day management of the club than the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer. He should be the highest paid person there, or she, and that CEO is in charge of everything. And I dare say that's one of the reasons that led to Kane Little being relieved of his duties, is because apart from wanting some clarity, in other words, it's now or never, back me or sack me type of ultimatum that he gave Luke Sayers, he would have known full well that despite his relative success in some of the off-field side of things, such as sponsorship and membership and all those things that he claims to have achieved things in, one of the most important parts of a CEO's job is the oversight of the football department, and to understand what's going on there, and to be constantly in contact with the general manager of that football department in making sure that things are happening as they should. And it's clear to me that because they went for an external review, that showed a complete lack of trust in the CEO and the general manager of football in terms of getting down to what was wrong and finding out what were the right questions to ask and establishing the answers to those questions. They did not have the confidence in them to do it. And that's one of the reasons why I think Luke Sayers went external.
Yeah.
So why Brad Lloyd has kept his job and yet Kane Little hasn't, I'm not 100% sure about that. But despite the club's statement during the week that would be the end of the personnel changes, I'm not so sure.
Well, they said that after David Teague left, that was the end of personnel changes.
Did they? I didn't know that. I thought it was only after the sacking of Kane Little last week.
I remember reading it. So
okay.
So how did let's assess Luke Sayers to date, right? What do you think of his performance?
Well, Joe, it's been 3.5 weeks since he took over. I don't think I've ever seen a president of a football club. I don't think I've ever seen the president of a football club have literally zero honeymoon period. I don't think Luke would ever feel like he's had a honeymoon period since he took over. The very first act of his presidency was literally to get blood on his hands and, take the scalps of Brent Stanton, Dale Amos and David Teague in the same week, and decided that was enough blood spilled on the floor for 1 week. Now we've got Kane Little. He's just been knifed. And maybe Brad Lloyd is being saved for someone else to do, because I don't recall a president ever taking over a football club and having to sack people to that degree in his first 2 or 3 weeks. I just don't.
Yeah.
The really disappointing part has been the messaging through the media. They have been scathing of our football club, and rightly so. I mean, we have become a basket case. It's embarrassing to some people. They go to work, or they talk to young kids talk to their schoolmates, and they get teased. It's just not the way it should be for Carlton supporters.
No, it's not.
And there are too many of us just feeling like, what has happened to our club? And I don't think Luke Sayers in his first 3 weeks has covered himself in glory, and he certainly hasn't, instilled any confidence in anybody that I know that he knows what he's doing with a football club. He might know how to run a big accounting firm. And, maybe that's the way they do things in these accounting firms. You think about companies that, for example, go into liquidation or into receivership, and along comes an accounting firm, and what do? They slash and burn and make decisions that cost people their jobs and their livelihoods, but they don't care. They are ruthless people, and that's how it feels at the moment at Carlton. Even Caroline Wilson on Footy Classified said Luke Sayers has got a lot to learn about how to run a football club because he's looking like he's running it like an accounting firm. And unfortunately, people of that nature don't seem to have any empathy for the human element, the human side of how a football club operates.
No, because it's all about...
There's a certain fabric to a football club that people need to understand. You know, that's why I said what I said about David Teague and the way he was treated. Even if you are going to remove him from that job, there's a way to go about it where you treat your people with respect and dignity. And it was not done that way. And that's one of the most disappointing parts about how Luke Sayers has presided over our club in his first 3.5 weeks as president.
Yeah, but you got to remember, Vince, that they try to run a football club like a business. And what's the
But even in business, Joe, even in business, good businesses do not treat people like that.
But that's what I'm saying, because accounting firms and other firms, their priority is profit, right? Whereas a football club, its priority should be premierships.
Mm-hmm.
Just while I've got you, I've brought the librarian Beachy in. G'day, Mr. Beach. How are you this evening?
Gentlemen, how are we?
How are you, Chris? Hey, nice to see you.
Chris, likewise. You've been in the background listening to us. Well, what's your take on what's happened or how Mr. Sayers has presided and the actions that he's taken to date? You're usually pretty cool, calm and collected.
This is basically, Joe, because I want to see what he actually does. Yes, he's culled these people. Yes, we've treated David Teague poorly. The problem is it could come back to bite us in more ways than one before Luke Sayers can even realise it. Yeah, that's the problem now. It's one thing to make wholesale changes quickly, but it's another now to back them up. Yes, you got rid of Little, who's actually dragged us back from debt. And that's to be applauded, no question. But now you're aiming for Brian Cook, who's coming from one of the most successful clubs in the modern era at Geelong. The problem here is if we don't land him, what's next? What's next?
Well, what worries me, Chris, is what example are we setting in terms of how we treat our people? What message is that sending to other people that may even be thinking of coming to our club or get approached to work at our club? They see these things. They witness what's going on and say, geez, I wouldn't want to be treated like that. Even our existing staff at the club will tell you how toxic the atmosphere and the morale and the culture is at the Carlton Football Club right now. And it's just got to stop because there's no way in the world, I don't care whether you get Brian Cook and Alistair Clarkson, if the culture continues like this, you've got no way you're going to be successful. They can improve things, yes, but they'll hit their head on the top of the jar as well, as others have found out. Successful coaches who have coached at other teams and had success, premiership success on more than one occasion, have come to our club and have recently described what it's like to operate under this board and under the influencers who control this board. And nothing is going to change unless we change it at the top. And that's the message I've been saying all season, as a matter of fact. Even on, the Blue Abroad Fan Cam show, I first came on and described this very thing, that the fish rots from the head, and that's where things have to change if we hope to have any success, let alone sustained success as we go forward into future seasons. We've had 8 years now, no finals. It probably should be 10. We didn't even finish in the top 8 in 2013, but we happened to sneak in on the disqualification of the Essendon Football Club. But even if you want to include that season, 8 years since we've played any finals. What makes anybody think that it's going to change while this board continues to govern the club. And yes, they've had some changes. They've replaced half the board, largely because of the pressure that we've been putting on them. But what has Luke Sayers chosen to do? He's replaced like for like. Another 3 mates from the big corporate world have taken those positions, and he's replaced one dual Brownlow medalist with another. It just happens to be 20 years older.
So, Vince,
really nothing has changed in terms of the makeup of the board, the nature of the board, and the culture deficiency on this board. It is not a member-first board. It is not a football-first board. It is much of the same, filled with corporate bullies, rich billionaires, and their mates. Same again. Missed an opportunity.
Can I ask you then, Vince, how are we different to any other club? Because, I see the same thing happening at Collingwood. I see the same thing happening at some of the other teams where they don't really have elections, yet they manage to, exist in harmony.
Really?
Well, Richmond.
Well, would you say what's going on at Collingwood at the moment is harmony?
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying other clubs.
They're very much coming to a head like we are.
Maybe we should ring them and ask for some advice.
December. What's that?
Maybe we should ring them and ask for some advice.
Well, there's another piece of embarrassing news that happened during the week that we were ringing Collingwood to say, how should we go about our coach search process? Really, it's embarrassing. One day after the next, we're in the news for all the wrong reasons.
No, sorry, Beachy, we cut you off. What else have you got to say?
Well, like I
anything
said,
on the coach?
I was just copying what you guys have said. We're already following the Collingwood method, right? And I'm hearing what's happening at Collingwood because so far as I'm concerned, they've gone further than us, and we're trying to catch up to them, which is quite sad, actually. But I digress, and that's another story for another day. The problem that we've got here is it going to continue like the way Collingwood's going, or are we going to actually go our own way with this? Because I don't see it going our own way. We're going to be looking somewhere else to follow their method now. Especially Collingwood.
Steve raises a good point, and he says with a lot of conflicts of interest. Vince, you've been very vocal on this.
Yep.
Do you want to expand on this point?
Well, as I said, not only has Luke Sayers sought to replace some of the outgoing directors with similar people of similar standing in the business community, but some of those people actually have a conflict of interest because you've got Tim Lincoln, who's actually a sponsor. Lincoln Distributors is a sponsor of the club, and that's a financial arrangement. And it's not healthy to have people in that position on your board. There's also a woman that's just joined the board who happens to run a PR company who's, which got sold to directors who are on the board, and that company's now being fed work by the Carlton Football Club. That is significant conflict of interest that I don't think is healthy, and I don't think that should be in place. That's certainly not an appointment I would have made. No way.
Do you think the club has an obligation to disclose these transactions?
If I have it my way, Joe, that's something that I would want to bring in as mandatory. Those sorts of disclosures of conflicts of interest like that.
Well, Mr. Sayers, sorry.
No, go on.
I was going to say Mr. Sayers should be used to that because in public companies, these related party transactions need to be disclosed in the notes. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure if I picked up the annual report at the end of the year, none of these will be disclosed. I mean, it's quite interesting that you're talking about people getting positions on the board. No disrespect, Jeannie Pratt may be the best director ever, but I'm sure she only got it because she plows money into the company. And we're all grateful for the money that she puts
into the club, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm sure we're all grateful for that money that she puts in. But to get
Yeah,
a
but Joe,
directorship.
Joe, the problem is this, right? Even people that put in significant money, and there are some of those that do it without any strings attached, but there are certain benefactors that for years now have been putting in significant financial contributions, but it's not an unconditional love of the club, I'm afraid, because they do have strings attached to their generosity. And, it comes in the form of board positions or, if not directly, indirectly. And the best example of that is Craig Matheson, the nephew of Bruce Matheson, who obviously puts in a lot of money into the club via his pokie machine licenses. So, that sort of reliance on benefactors who have strings attached, in other words, they need to control things and control the board and pull the strings from wherever they sit in their, in their office towers.
Mm-hmm.
Those sorts of strings attached are not healthy, and I think we've got to learn as a club. We've come to a point now that I think we need to cut the umbilical cord, because 20 years of this has resulted in misery and mediocrity, and these people have had more than enough opportunity with their strings attached to their power and to their generosity to get it right, to implement a strategy that's going to work. But all we've seen is the last 6 senior coaches of the Carlton Football Club have been sacked before their contracts have come to an end. And that's not a good sign. And if we continue to be operated and governed by this board, I dare say it'll just result in another one in another 2 or 3 or 4 years' time.
Okay. Vince, I've just brought in the Gozfather. G'day, Goz. How are you, mate?
Hey, fellas. How are you?
Hi, Goz.
Goz wanted to pop in for 5 minutes. What did you want to say, Goz?
Vince, I'm gonna throw it your way. Obviously, with all the changes, I understand where you're coming from, etc. But with all the changes, the new faces that are coming on board, etc., I've had a lot of feedback and private messages coming my way saying, the board has changed the people on the board has changed the people. They're coming on board, so it's literally like a new board. Have you changed your thoughts on what's been going on at the moment? Like, okay, Luke Sayers is still the captain of the ship, so to speak. Everything else, what are your thoughts on everything else that's changing at the moment? Where do you see us? Where do you see us at the moment?
Well,
I hope that makes sense.
Look,
I couldn't get my words right then.
At the moment, I mean, we're a ship that's got a new captain, but there's just no certainty about what we're doing or how we're going about anything at the moment. How can anyone say that there's a clear plan, a clear direction, and strong leadership? There's just, there's every couple of days we're in the news for all the wrong reasons. I mean, even tonight, it was disclosed that Greg Williams, who's now on the board, one of the 4 changes that were made a couple of weeks ago, who is now taking over as the director of football, is there in an executive capacity. So he's being paid. It's meant to be a voluntary position. And yet it's come out that he's been paid.
Okay.
Has that been disclosed from the start? Why do we have to find these things out through the media?
Can I just jump in there, Vince? Sorry, that was part of my question too. I completely forgot. My apologies. Greg Williams, with all respect in the world for what he's done, okay, complete respect in the world. It's been very well noted that he's had some concussion, brain injuries, etc. For me, as a supporter, as a member, as a person that bleeds blue for life, I'm quite concerned the fact that he's been given such a responsibility. How does it make sense for someone in his position with his history that all of a sudden he's a part of the board / the coaching selection? It worries me. How could someone logically make sense of taking part of picking the right coach and being part of the board when he's had concussion and brain injuries in the past? Again, with all due respect to Greg Williams, love the bloke for everything he's done, but thinking from a business point of view. Vince, what do you reckon?
Well, look, I haven't got any. I can't shed any light on that. I think, again, whatever decisions are made by the board in terms of who they put onto the board, you would imagine and hope and trust that all of the due diligence has been done before people have been invited on. And clearly, I've given you some examples tonight that if the due diligence was done, they've chosen to ignore the conflicts of interest. So they've either not done the due diligence and not realised that there is conflicts of interest here, or they have done the due diligence and they've chosen to ignore the conflicts of interest. And when it comes to Greg Williams, if he's got cognitive issues or memory lapse issues, I don't know. But if he has, you would hope that these sorts of things have been addressed and that there's some sort of medical clearance or something of that nature to say, no, he's right to go. He's more than capable of fulfilling a position like this. I hope and trust that he has, because, I'm sure he's got a lot to offer from a football knowledge sense. But yet again, my point is not whether Greg's capable of fulfilling the role. My point is about the board not being transparent. Yet again, this board with a history of using smoke and mirrors and not being upfront with the Carlton members, not being transparent about what its real agenda is, yet again, not being upfront with us about the basis upon which Greg Williams has been employed. Now, if he's taking a voluntary position on the board, that's what everyone would have assumed, because we don't pay people to be on the board. But if he's now there and it's come out in the media that he's actually there being paid to be on the board, that's something that the club should have made the members aware of when he was first appointed, not 2 weeks later through the media. Would you guys agree with that?
Joe, can I just jump in there? Joe? With Vince's absolute corporate look going on over here with the tie and everything, and I've got my casual look.
Joe hasn't even asked me about that tonight. I've been doing some recording. I've been doing some recording of a video that'll be out on the Carlton Now Facebook page very shortly.
How corporate does Vince look? It's very hard to challenge him when I'm in my casuals over here. But anyway, that's a fair point, Vince. But does it not worry you, as somebody in your position? Does it not worry you? And again, full respect to Greg Williams. God love him and everything for everything he's done for the club. Does it not worry you for the position that he's in at the moment? Do you feel as though he's been pushed in that position, or do you feel he's been, it baffles me.
You're asking the wrong person, because all I can do is speculate like anybody else. And I don't want to have to speculate about things like this, nor does any Carlton member or supporter want to speculate, and nor should they have to speculate. Things should be made clear up front by the board. The board of directors should be filled with people who are transparent, trustworthy, and are good to their word. Not people who use smoke and mirrors, try and create perceptions of what's really not the truth, okay? And fabricate things around what messages they want out there rather than what's really happening. And that's what's got to change. That's what I want to try and instill into this club. A culture that's member first, football first, and is upfront with the members about what's really going on.
Yep, fair call. Fair call. Here.
All right. We're not going to get into that topic tonight, but I have put up on there about what Vince is actually doing which is the Carlton Now. So for anyone that wants any information, please feel free to go to that page. Feel free to ask Vince personally on the In the Blue Corner page or group. He's more than happy to spend any amount of time to explain to you what he's proposed and why.
Joe, can I just say one thing about it? We lodged a petition at the club on Friday the 27th of August. That's now 16 days ago. The club has 21 days from the day they receive the petition to announce a date, a time, and a venue for the extraordinary general meeting. They've got 5 days left. They still haven't.
Don't hold your breath, Vince.
I'm just letting you know they've got 5 days left, and as per the Constitution, they must schedule that meeting as per the constitutional rules. Otherwise, they are denying the members their democratic rights. So I look forward to receiving notification of that date, time, and venue before Friday, the 17th of September, because that is the deadline.
As I said to you in a previous conversation, Vince, I wouldn't hold your breath. Hey, guys, we're going to let you go. We know you've got to go pick up your son. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Can I just say one more thing before I go? Thank you. Firstly, thank you so much for having me on the show, Joe and Vince. It's very hard to stand up to a bloke that's dressed very corporate looking. Well done, Vince. But I just want to say, I just want to say, if it wasn't Vince, it would have been somebody else to stand up for the rights and the freaking democracy of this football club. We need to get behind this bloke. It's not about Vince Locasano throwing his weight around, etc. It's not about him getting a ticket happening, etc. It's about the freedom of speech. This is what this bloke represents, and it's not a full credit to himself. It's credit to the football club. He's passionate like the rest of us. We have to get behind to hear our voices heard through the club. No matter how, if we've got a 10-person membership or a 3-person membership, whatever the case, stand by your grounds, guys. We're on the same page. We bleed blue for life, okay? So I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you very much, boys. Take care.
Thanks guys. Vince, I'm not going to get you to answer this. Lana's put up something about what happens if they don't respond. It'll take us too long. What I might get you to do is put something up on the Carlton Now page or in the Blue Corner group so that people can understand what's going on. Beachy, You've been very quiet there. Any thoughts about who should coach Carlton, who you want as coach of Carlton?
Well, who I want, who do you want me to say other than Alistair Clarkson?
I forget about Alistair Clarkson. Let's leave that boat alone. Who do you think? We all want Alistair Clarkson. There's no doubt about that. Who do you think will get it though? Exclude him, right?
Well, the only option that I have past Clarko, shall we say, is Michael Voss.
Michael Voss. Can I ask why Michael Voss?
Well, he's got the success to back him up as a player, triple premiership player. Yes, he wasn't successful as a coach. He's been learning under Hinkley. He's at Port Adelaide. Like I said, he's been learning under Hinkley, but, it's time he got a second crack, in my opinion.
Yeah. Here's one from Rob. Good evening, Rob. Adam Kingsley. Well, there's another one to throw in the ring.
What he's just done there is start throwing up a name, and there's lots of names of untried coaches. Adam Kingsley's been knocking on the door now for a while. He's been interviewed for lots of different positions. Hasn't quite cracked it for a senior job yet. But again, Luke Sayers came out straight after they sacked David Teague and said, we will be going out attempting to secure the best experienced senior coach. And that's the word he used. So I think he's almost put himself into a corner there. And a lot of people would agree with him that we've had 2 untried coaches in Bolton and Teague. And maybe now it's time for our team, considering where it's at, to have an experienced coach to take us forward. So it's not always the best option. In fact, Joe, if you have a look over the last 20 years, right? Let's just go back to the start of the millennium or start of the century. Now, you had Sheedy coach Essendon to a premiership in 2000. He was an experienced coach. Then you had Matthews coaching Brisbane Lions to 3 consecutive premierships, 2001, 2 and 3. He was an experienced coach, had coached other teams beforehand. But if you look at 2005 till now, in the last 15, 16 years, most of the premiership coaches have actually never coached another team before they coached that one. So Mark Williams coached Port Adelaide to success in 2004. That was his first team to coach, Port Adelaide. 2005 was Paul Roos, same thing. That was his first team to coach. 2006 was John Worsfold. He never coached any other club before that. 2007 and 2009 was Mark Thompson. He'd never coached another senior team before coaching Geelong. 2008, 2013, 14, 15 was Alistair Clarkson. Yet again, he'd never coached another team before starting at Hawthorn. So you can keep going through the Luke Beveridge, Adam Simpson. They've all coached those clubs for the first time. So your chances of premiership success under a particular coach is actually greater with a first-time coach than it is with a recycled one.
It's quite funny.
That's something that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that because Lana says apparently we're not getting an inexperienced coach. They're running out of options, which is true because, I mean, as Vince has said, you know, everyone's got to start somewhere. I think, you know, look, maybe they should have done this process a bit better when David Teague was first announced. I don't know, but, you know, he always said he wanted to have an attacking game, and that we went from ultra defensive with Brendan Bolton to ultra attacking with
and hardly any defence at all.
Yeah, so maybe what we.
But
again,
they allege this is again the smoke and mirrors that I keep talking about with this board and its administration. Words when David Teague was appointed 2 years ago, he's never been more ready to coach. We've done all of our due diligence and all of the profiling on him, and he ticks every box, said Kane Little.
Well,
2 years later, they're saying, oh, he's got all of these deficiencies. So, again, you'd like to trust your board when they come out with statements like that, but you start to wonder whether they really did do their homework or whether they just appointed him on the back of, you know, the popularity that it existed at the time with the players and the supporters on the Teague train, as we heard it being described.
I heard from a reliable source that they didn't really do much. They just they just said to the other people, "Thanks for applying, but we've got our man." So
when they did that, by the way, they upset one person a lot, and that was their football director, Chris Judd, because he was the one that tried to say, "No, we don't need someone like this. We need someone with experience," and in the end, he's proven right.
I agree with Gina. I want Craig Bellamy.
I wish you luck with that. I happen to think Craig Bellamy's one of the best coaches of any sport in the land. Fantastic success with the Melbourne Storm. He's a great manager,
isn't he?
He is, and that's the sort of person you need. Someone who can really manage the team and manage these boys. Anyway,
well,
we move on. We'll wait and see which CEO is announced and which senior coach is announced, hopefully within the next week or two.
Yeah. Well, how far into this process are we? Does anyone know?
All I know is that there's one less person on the selection panel because Kane Little was put on it. And within about a week or so of announcing the selection panel, Kane Little has been sacked and he's not going to be replaced by anybody. But whether that means that Ross Lyon all of a sudden is back in play, I'm not sure.
I think the Ross Lyon.
I was only being facetious, but
I know. I think that's. Sorry, Beachy, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was just agreeing with what Vince said. You know, Kane Little went bye. He went on the. He was put on the committee for the coaching panel, and he then said, "There's the door, mate. Don't let it hit you."
Yeah.
Hey, Chris. I see at the back of your seat you've got an Australia scarf there. That's the football scarf?
It's actually the rugby union scarf.
Rugby union.
Tonight.
I was going to say, I thought it might have been a soccer scarf. Maybe we could get Ange Postecoglou. He's a big Carlton supporter. He seems to be a good coach. He's doing quite well over there. He did very well in Japan at Yokohama. Sorry?
Can you send a message to Scotland then? Because that's where he's at the moment.
No problem. You know, another good coach, a Carlton supporter, is Kevin Muscat. I shared a room with Kevin Muscat at the 2010 World Cup in 2010 World Cup in South Africa, and all he talked to me about was Carlton. I said, "You were on a soccer tour," and I go, "I love Carlton." So
I had him as a guest once at the Carltonians, Joe, when I was president back in those days. He's a good Carlton man, Kevin Muscat, and
right, man.
yes, he's another good coach that's had success with Melbourne Victory, the football team or the soccer team.
Yeah,
but yes, Ange Postecoglou, I think, is coaching Celtic.
Yes,
from
certainly
memory,
is,
in Scotland,
and doing quite well.
Mm.
Now, here's something I didn't know. Billy Slater, a big Carlton supporter.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was at St Kilda, wasn't he?
Yeah, on the coaching panel there for St Kilda.
Well, I don't know.
He was asked to go on the coaching panel, was he?
Who?
Interesting.
Was
Billy
he?
Slater. That's what Beachy was just saying.
Well, actually, I think they've been brought in for a coaching session with St Kilda.
I heard he was he was there for culture. So
when you look at Billy Slater, Cameron Smith, Cooper Cronk, these sorts of guys that were at Melbourne Storm during that really successful era, under the coaching of Craig Bellamy, of course. You know, they were almost like the Luke Hodge, Sam Mitchell, and Jordan Lewis of the Melbourne Storm. So you know, great success over a long period of time.
They've Lana's pulled one out of the top drawer here. So Alec Ferguson.
Yeah, to team up with Parko. Just on that, by the way, you know, Parko's another member of that selection panel. They've managed to rope him back in. So that's how loyal the man is to the Carlton Football Club. But I just want to say a very big, happy 79th birthday to Parko. I'm sure he won't mind me saying that. But we've got 1 year to go before he has the big 8-0. So hopefully he's had a great day. Do
you know whose birthday it was yesterday?
Whose birthday yesterday?
The great Bruce Dool.
Oh, yes, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Bruce Dool would have turned 71.
I'm sure he's
71
listening.
yesterday, Joe. 71.
Yeah, I'm sure he's listening.
I'm sure he won't talk.
Rash asked, heard Voss was a big Carlton supporter before Brisbane. Is that true? Yes, it is very true. Very, very true. Vince, we've got a question here from Rob. Should who's Brad
Lloyd?
I think Brad Lloyd be nervous. What do you think?
Well, put it this way. If I was Brad Lloyd, I'd still be nervous and I'd still be anxious because I think his future relies more on who becomes the CEO and how the CEO feels about him remaining in that position. Because that's what I suspect has happened now, that Luke Sayers has probably thought, I've got enough blood on my hands now. If Brad Lloyd's going to go or anyone else, it can be at the instigation of the new CEO rather than me. Yeah. Because he's starting to get a reputation as a bit of a butcher. So I dare say, Kane Little will probably be the last of them for the time being at least. When a new CEO is appointed, then they'll probably assess that position again. And, you know, you could very well find another general manager of football operations being employed under a new CEO.
Yeah.
I'd be to answer Rob's question. Yes, I would still be nervous. Yep.
To answer Rob's question, if I were anyone at Carlton, even the boot stutter, I would be nervous. Because
they are, Joe. Well, I'm telling you, they all still are because regardless of public announcements and statements that are made from the club, they all know that it doesn't always follow that path.
Well, I mean, so they should be nervous too because, you know, I can tell you something personal, right? I've told you guys off air. I have been a member of this club since I was 10 years old. I'm showing my age. I'm 59. I remember we used to have to run up to the newsagent to buy our memberships. Remember, they used to be those paper tickets, and then you'd get them clipped, And at the end of the year, you'd compare with your mates and you said, look, I've been to every game, right? They didn't have my name and address then. I'm still paying nearly $1,000 a year. And can I tell you, in the last 8 years that I've been living here in Bangkok, I have received 8 emails from the club. And the 8 emails are, when are you going to pay? All right? I've never once received an email.
Have you rung the club and told them what your email address is and why don't they send you the regular emails?
I've rung the club many times, Vince. It costs me a fortune. I even went into the club when I was last in Melbourne 2 years ago. Thank you, COVID and Scott Morrison. And I went into the club and I said, what the hell is wrong with you guys? Why can't you get my email right? Oh, yeah, we don't have an email or a phone number. But don't you think that when you ask me, well, you must have my email because you ask me for money each year. Oh, that's a different database. Well, then merge the database, right? You know, we've got this club. I'll give you an example. I'm an overseas member of the Chelsea Football Club, right? They give me this membership. It costs me £50 a year. For my £50 a year, I get access to videos, I get access to interviews, I get regular emails from the club, from Chelsea. I get at least 3 emails a week, right?
Yep.
What do I get from Carlton? I don't get anything. Yeah, we've got a marketing department, we've got a membership department. And, you know, when I went there to speak to the membership manager, I said, look, I want to speak to the membership manager. I don't want to speak to the assistant. I said, I'm sick of writing emails. And I went in there and the guy said to me, goes, oh, I don't really give a shit, mate. I'm a St Kilda supporter. And I went, I'm sorry? And he goes, yeah, you know, I don't care if we've got you on the database or not. I'm here doing a job. Okay, well then do your job. I don't care who you support. If you're the membership manager, then it's your job to get the details of every member that's there. They say they've got 80,000 people, 80,000 members. How many of those are voting members? How many emails do you have? How many phone numbers do you have? I'm sure they don't have any. I would bet London to a brick if they had 40,000 email addresses. And I know why, because in our party, there is 12 people that buy memberships, right? When I was in Australia, I used to organise 12 memberships and one person gets an email and the other 11 get bubkas. And I've been up at the club. I've even given them the piece of paper. I sent them an email. Oh, we will fix this straight away, sir.
Joe, if you tell them next time they send you an email asking for money and you say, I'm going to cancel all of these 11. Well, how many memberships did you say there were? 10 or
12.
11 or 12? 12. I'm going to cancel all 12 memberships unless you get this part of it right. And I want you to prove that you've got this part of it right by putting me into your database, sending me an email to each one of those 12 and making sure you got the phone numbers and all the other things right. Once you've confirmed that you've got everything, and I start getting the very first round of emails from the club, then I'll renew the membership.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question.
That's all I can suggest because what you're doing now is not working. So as usual, money talks. So, you know.
I'm going to ask you a question.
You shouldn't have to, look, you've ranted about that for too long as it is. You shouldn't have to go to that extent and you shouldn't have to face the membership manager and have those sorts of conversations. It's crazy. But anyway, we all know the unfortunate thing about the membership number this year is as much as they crow on about it and as much as the outgoing president made a big deal of, you know, giving us record membership, the reality is that we've gone up over 20% in membership this year, largely on the back of giveaways. Free memberships that have been given to the other 50 or 60,000, and we've increased our membership based on that. It hasn't produced any additional revenue, and in fact, if nothing else, it's given the distinct message to those of us that do pay that you are a mug, you're an idiot, you're paying for your membership, while all these other people are getting them for nothing. I personally don't like the idea. I don't like what it stands for, and I don't like how it must make those other members feel who do pay their money out of their hard-earned cash. And I dare say a lot of those people won't bother renewing their memberships next year. And that's when it comes crashing down, when all of a sudden, people who got a free one this year say, what do I want to pay for next year for? This club's on its knees. It's a basket case. And then the ones who did pay last year say, go and stick it up your you-know-what, because I'm not going to pay again because you're giving them away for nothing on the back of a cornflakes packet.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you devalue membership and you devalue it in the eyes of the people who do pay.
It's really funny you say that, because Steve said that, but what was the point of giving away the free memberships? Your mate Dan Andrews paid to no one being able to go to the football anyway.
Well,
we've been in lockdown.
Yeah.
I just want Rob's put a comment up. I'm an AFL full member for 23 years. Yet free memberships can vote. That's bullshit. That's actually
true.
wrong. Is that wrong?
No. No, what he's trying to say is this. He's an AFL member with Carlton support.
Yeah.
He is not allowed to vote at an election.
That's
right.
Yeah.
Yet
free members,
some of these other guys who have got a free 11-game membership this year, right? They are allowed to vote.
Oh, I thought you had to be a full paying.
No.
Okay.
The Constitution says that you are if you are entitled, that's the word. If you are entitled to an 11-game membership, you are regarded as an ordinary member and can vote. So there are people out there in their thousands that have been literally granted a Carlton membership for nothing that can vote at the upcoming election.
Well, that's
never had to pay a cent.
That's wrong.
And yet there are other people, whether they be 3-game members of the club or whether they be AFL members with Carlton club support package, they're not allowed to vote.
Yeah.
How wrong is that? Now, that's a creation of this board and its administration. And Kane Little is largely responsible for that. And the board approved that approach to membership. So they ultimately have to take accountability for this.
Do you know, Vince, I worked in retail for 20 years when I was in Australia. And once you start discounting, people expect discounts all the time, right?
Yep.
And that's why we tried, when I was at Myer, we tried to get away from it, because people would only come to you when you're on sale. And I think Kane Little has when I heard about all these free memberships, I thought, well, I know, what's he doing? Because, these people,
I can tell you for a fact that I got 2. I didn't just get 1. I got 2 different invitations throughout the year to sign up a free membership for somebody.
Yeah, it's
11-game membership.
And here's Lana, who's paid for a 7-game membership but can't vote. Anyway, hey, look, we've been going for more than. I'll put myself there. We've been going for more than an hour. So look, this is just a pilot. So I hope everyone's enjoyed the show. Please give us feedback. Please subscribe to the page in the blue corner. Subscribe to share and like the group in the blue corner. For those of you that don't know the difference, a page and a group are very different. The page allows you to do sales and you can't post, whereas the group allows you to put posts and point of views up. So I didn't know the difference. I'm learning things every day. So on that point, Chris, last comments, last words, anything to say? Go Wallabies.
Well, we'll leave that to one side for the moment. We'll keep this related. Look, guys, EGM, just trying to stay up to date with it. Vince is going to do his best to keep everybody informed. It's clear the club aren't going to do it. I'm a bit annoyed by it, but we'll leave that as it is, because Vince is more into it than I am. But other than that, guys, we need to support this club no matter what we as people do. Thank you.
Yeah. Rocco's joined us. G'day, Rocco.
Hey, Rock.
Hey, guys. How you going? Sorry for the later on.
Do you know the funny thing is you came on and Vince dropped off? Oh, here he's back. Hang on.
It's like the tag team. Remember the old tag team?
Who's the legal man in the ring?
See, as soon as Rocco came on, I just got shoved off.
There's only
Well-
room. There's only
Well, we
enough
want to
room
know
for
who
me,
the
man.
legal man in the ring is. We think it's Rocco. Rocco,
think
speak.
it's
Have you
me.
been editing the jumper punch or filming it?
Good to see you, Rock.
Filming and editing and just getting it all ready. So so there's a bit of a night's work ahead of me now. So we'll just get it all
You're
ready.
on holidays, aren't you?
I am actually on a few weeks holidays, so it's all good.
Yeah.
So we can get to sleep
Happy
in.
days.
That's
Rock,
it.
what
That's
have
it.
you-
Don't forget, Joe, that there's a little segment on Rocco's show, the jumper punch,
Yes.
that I do with him,
Yes.
where we
Vince,
go
always
down
follow.
memory lane. I love it.
It's always
I really
about
enjoyed it.
Vince. Rocco,
No,
it's
it's not
always
about me. It's not
about
about
Vince.
me.
Actually, how are you, mate? Chris? How are you, mate?
How are you, Rock? Good, mate. Self?
Good, mate. Good.
Hey, Rock.
God, yeah. Tell me.
What have you got to say about the board's performance to date?
Well,
I know you're here, but that's all you need to say.
oh yeah, you don't really need to. To me, I don't know. They've done nothing. They've done a cribs. They've got their 20 possessions and they've done what they had to do so far. They've done nothing special. So that's the way I look at it. Yeah, there's nothing being done that's really exciting anyone at the moment. So I'm just waiting for the chance.
A big fish. A big
to
fish.
have our say. Well, I'm waiting for the chance. No, I'm waiting for a chance to have our say, man. And we'll see what happens in the next week. I know that they've got to announce a date this week. Is that correct, Vince?
Yes, they are obliged by the Constitution, after having received a petition with more than enough signatures on it, to enforce an EGM, an extraordinary general meeting, to allow the voting members to have a say on that motion to spill the board.
Yep.
And they are obliged to give the members that democratic right within 2 months of receiving the petition, but they must announce and schedule a date. That's the point. They must schedule a date and announce it within 3 weeks of receiving the petition. So that 3 weeks finishes this Friday. So if they don't, as Lana asked me, what happens if they don't? Well, for starters, they will have basically stuck up the middle finger to 81,000 Carlton members and said, stuff you, your democratic rights mean nothing to us. The only thing that matters to us is our positions on the board, because that will then enforce a legal battle, which no one wants.
Nah, no one wants that. So, you're hoping that they do the right thing this week and then they can give a chance to all the members. And really, no one should be scared or worried about this. This is exactly what we want. This is exactly everybody's right. And whatever the best outcome will be. What will be. So everyone should be. Yeah, everyone should be ready for the battle. And at the end of the day, it's what's best for Carlton. Everyone's got to remember that. It's what's best for Carlton. This is what we want, man. This is our family, and all we want is the best for Carlton.
That's right.
And
Exactly right, Rocco. Well said.
Are you still hopeful of getting Clarkson, Rocco?
Of course he is.
Of course, man. Come on, let's be serious, man. Like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Forget about everything else. The coach, which is an important part, of course, of the team. Let's be serious, man. He is the best out there. No one can deny that, He's the best available. He's the one with all the credits. He's the one, I think, that could stand up and be counted. You know what I mean? Like, I think the last two coaches have been pushed around a little bit. I think he can stand up and make a difference. And at the end of the day, he's the best. And if we can get him, I don't care who's in charge, get Clarkson. That's it. We want the best, no matter if it's board, president, CEO, coach, players, captain. We want the best, don't we? And I always remember Richard Pratt when he was looking for, I think it was a CEO and they said to him, we'll get the best available. And he said, no, we'll get the best available. And he goes, no, we'll get the best that's out there. So we just want the best, and that's what we were known for. So why have things changed? Let's just get the best that's out there. And at the moment, Clarkson is the best. I don't care. He's the one with the unless you can get me Hardwick, I'll take Hardwick if you can get me Hardwick.
Well, you raise a good point there, Rocco. There is a difference between the best available and the best out there. The best available means that they don't have a job. The best out there is, well, if it's Damien Hardwick, then yeah. So, hey, anything else to add, Rocco? You're coming quite late. We're gonna end the show soon. We've been going for a long time. So, any last comments?
Just well done with the what is it? The pilot of the show. I'm sure it's gonna kick on, especially next year. Can't hopefully be doing something, and everyone's looking for some content. So just that, and everyone just stick strong and we'll get there. We're stick fat, and we'll get there.
Yep.
Rocco, before we go, give your show a plug. The boys, the Jumper Punch.
Yep. So Tuesday 8 p.m. Everyone knows that Tuesday 8 p.m. the world stops and everyone gets in front of their computer and they watch the Jumper Punch. There's some fireworks this week, so if everyone gets on, there's a little bit of a heated discussion, which is good. That's what we love. And as normal, there's a little bit of laughter, and we give a dig to the losing teams, Geelong and Port Adelaide. Thank you for coming. See you later now. And we give a dig to anyone else that deserves a nice dig. Bit of entertainment Tuesday night. Join the Jumper Punch.
Okay. Hey,
don't forget the bananas, guys. Don't forget the bananas.
The banana. Before we go,
trust me, bananas everywhere.
Before we go, I'm going to get each of you to give us a predict. Oh, well, we've got 2 weeks for the grand final. I forgot. There's a bye this week, isn't there?
There is.
What about a Brownlow prediction, Joe?
Let's go for the Brownlow then. Rocco, who's going to win the Brownlow?
Walsh will win it by 2 votes.
All right, I'm going to write this down. Hang on, and we'll revisit this next week. Everyone feels free to give it to me on the comments. So Walsh by 2.
Yeah, Walsh will win it.
Okay. Mr. Beach.
I have Bontempelli. Western
Bontempelli. Do you want to give us a prediction by how many points or just a winner?
I'll say by 4 votes.
By 4.
How many votes? How many votes is he going to get, Beachy?
Oh, hang on. We're going crazy now.
Come on.
How many votes is he going to get? We'll come back.
Oh, come on, Vince.
I'll tell you, he'll win on 29 votes.
Vince?
I'm with Rocco. I'm going to go for Sam Walsh by 1 vote, and he will poll the same as Chris Judd, 30, because I reckon he's had a very similar year to Chris Judd in 2010.
Really?
Yeah, very similar. Okay. Basically, so the outstanding. When you think back to Chris Judd and when he won that Brownlow, it was unexpected. But it was largely because he was the most outstanding player in the team week in, week out. And even against sides that we lost to, he was polling his 2 and 3 votes sometimes. So I think Sam Walsh will do that quite a lot this season, and I'd love to see him win it.
Oh, that'd be huge. Be huge.
Mate, I'll go ballistic if Walshy wins it. I'll go ballistic. I won't care. I'll go nuts.
Oh, hang on. If Sam Walsh wins, I'm gonna do an impromptu show because I want to see what Chris Beach is like going nuts. Right? I want to see Beachy go nuts.
What's going to happen?
Sorry?
What's going to happen? Because the Brownlow's actually next Sunday night.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'll just ring up Gil and tell him to hold off.
We will more than likely start our show in advance.
A bit
Sorry,
earlier.
yeah, in advance earlier at
just
about
watch this.
6 o'clock.
That's it.
Yeah,
You're
watch
treat
I
to the
believe,
Brownlow.
I believe the Brownlow starts at 7:30 or 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 7:30, I think, on Sunday night next week. So we'll probably start this show as early as 6 o'clock next week, guys. What do you think?
Actually, we'll be the red carpet.
Yeah,
So
we'll
can
be the
you
red
dress-
carpet. Yeah, that's a
Rocco,
good idea.
can you dress up in your best evening gown? Beachy, shave your legs. Right?
Done.
I'm already. Hey, Joe, I'm already dressed for it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you are dressed for it.
I'm gonna say that the man with the biggest head in AFL is going to win the Brownlow. Ollie Wines. I think he's had a good year, but I just want to be different. But anyway, hey, guys, that's a wrap. Don't forget Jumper Punch Tuesday nights with Rocco and crew. Banana of the week or banana of the year. Are you going to have a banana of the year?
We
Or have you
had it a
that
few
yet?
weeks ago.
The-
We
the-
had it.
Who won
Just
it?
goes to show you how often you watch the show.
That's
No, I thought it
right.
was banana of the week.
No, we had Banana of the Year, and the winner was Gibberfish.
Yeah.
Yes, Zach Fisher.
Zach
And
Fisher.
Michael
Okay,
Gibbons.
no, I do watch it, but
And Michael Gibbons, the two of them.
Yeah,
Oh,
both
that-
of them they won it.
Gibberfish. The Gibberfish, yeah.
no, that was rubbish.
Gibberfish won Banana of the Year.
Yes. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
well deserved, I thought.
I think
All right,
so.
No, look, in all seriousness, if I could just give you my 15 seconds of plug for the Jumper Punch, it is seriously the most entertaining variety show. I mean, we don't have variety shows on Australian television anymore. I think there might be the odd one on ABC, but it hurts too much to watch the ABC. I've got to tilt my head to the left.
That's
So
what we
left
get
wing.
here, mate.
But anyway, in terms of entertainment and variety, these three guys, Rocco, Paul, and Mars, do a fantastic job. It's all about footy and it's all about Carlton during the AFL season. But the good news is that they're going to continue on through the cricket season and the spring carnival and the golfing season, the tennis, the whole lot. I think all the way through till next year's pre-season of the AFL.
That's it. We'll have a few
Rocco?
more shows. Yeah.
Can we get a banana for Kane Corns?
Yeah, I was gonna give him the banana, right? But
Yeah.
he did all right over the weekend because he called Bailey Smith, the best thing since Dusty, and I had to kind of hold back because 4 goals and 27.
Yeah.
He's doing all right at the moment, but he's definitely still nowhere near our boy. But I'm going to hold out on the banana on Kane.
Vince, Bailey
Yes.
Smith and is it Vandermeer? Good Xavier boys.
Yes, very much
Good
so. But
Xavier boys.
I don't know what Bailey's got going. I think he must be building up to one of those fundraising efforts for some sort of charity where he's going to cut all of his hair off and sell it off or sell it to the highest bidder or something like that. Because that mullet is the longest mullet I've seen since
They got a
probably
couple.
Warwick Capper in 1987. What are you doing, Joe? I was just going to say, you look like you're in the dark. What's going on?
No, well, it's starting to get dark here. It's 6:30 here, and I had the lights open, so I just turned light. Hey, so that's going to be it for tonight.
Yep.
Thanks to all our guests, Rocco, Jumper Punch. Thank you very much, Beachy.
Thank you,
thanks
guys.
for coming on.
Thanks, Beachy.
A
Thanks,
really
Rob, for joining us.
A really big thank you to Vince. Vince, all the best with all the Carlton now, and
Thank you.
we'll be back next week. Watch the website, Facebook page. We'll let you know what time we'll be on next Sunday, if the Brownlow is, in fact, on the Sunday night.
It is.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the group. Spread it to all the Carlton supporters. And I just want to take you out on one song.
Go for it.
Okay, Joe.
As this was our entry music. It's the clown theme song. When the clowns come into the circus, this is what they play at Princess Park these days as you walk through the doors. So goodbye, and thanks for joining.
See you guys.
Cheers.